4-1 against Villa. Still buzzing from that one, I gotta say. What about you?
Buzzing is an understatement, mate. Absolutely brilliant performance from the lads. But, Ange is right. We got to stay grounded and still early days in it.
Oh, absolutely. Can't get carried away just yet. But even Ange couldn't hide that delight in the presser, right?
Yeah.
He had some really interesting things to say. So let's get stuck into it, shall we?
Let's do it. Always love hearing what the gaffer has to say, especially after a win like that one.
So first up, Ange gave credit where credit was due, Acknowledged that Villa are a tough side, very consistent, rarely have an off day.
Exactly, yeah. He made it clear we had to be at our best to match their energy, and that took some doing, especially after that midweek slog against Barcelona.
Yeah, and then he goes on about how Spurs have got gears, multiple gears, we can push harder, we can break teams down. I loved that bit.
Yeah, that stood out to me as well. You could tell he was really impressed with the team's resilience. Bouncing back from that Fulham loss, putting in a shift against Barcelona and then Villa. It's the kind of mental and physical strength you need when you're aiming for the top.
Yeah, it's not just about talent, is it? It's about that fighting spirit, that never say die attitude. And speaking of fighting spirit, Sonny coming off early had us all a bit worried, didn't it?
Oh, tell me about it. Heart skipped a beat there for a second. But Ange cleared the air, said it was all planned, He wasn't going to risk playing Sonny for the full 90 minutes, especially after that Barcelona match.
Right. Especially with his history of little injuries.
Yeah.
Better to be safe than sorry, eh?
Yeah.
Especially with someone as important as Sonny. But even in those minutes that he was on, did he make an impact or what? That assist for the first goal was just pure class.
Pure class is right. Even without the 2 goals, Ange was full of praise for him, highlighted how much he contributes to the team even when he's not scoring. His work rate is just phenomenal, constantly pressing, creating space for others, a real leader on the pitch.
Absolutely. And then there was his overall assessment of the performance seemed over the moon with it, especially considering all the changes he had to make to that starting 11. Said the lads were determined after going a goal down. No panic, just pure grit.
It's that mental resilience we were talking about earlier. Going a goal down could have rattled them, but they stuck to the game plan, they kept their composure and ultimately turned it around. He even said that they left nothing in the tank, both against Barcelona and Villa, That's the kind of commitment you want to see as a fan.
100%. But
yeah.
It wasn't all sunshine and roses, was it? Charlison and Romero picked up knocks. That's got to be a worry, right?
Yeah, losing key players is never ideal, but Ange was pretty quick to highlight the squad depth,
Right.
He pointed to Ben Davies, who's been playing all over the back line, and young Destiny Udogie, who stepped up midweek against Barcelona. Looks like we've got some real quality waiting in the wings.
Udogie's a real prospect, isn't he? But speaking of important players, Ange was really singing Højbjerg's praises, wasn't he? Said he's been playing as much as anyone and rates him very highly, especially vital against that Villa midfield.
Oh, he was, and he even gave us a bit of tactical insight, explaining how Højbjerg's driving runs with the ball helped to break down those stubborn defenses like Villa's. Basically, he draws defenders out of position, which creates space for our attackers to exploit. Clever stuff, eh?
This is why I love listening to Ange's press conferences. You always learn something new. But before we get too carried away...
Hold on, there's still more to discuss. Remember that really touching moment when...
Oh, right. I almost forgot about the tribute to Ugo Ehiogu.
Yeah, Ugo's birthday. Ange took a moment to remember the former Villa player and Spurs coach. Apparently, he had a big impact on Matt Wells, our current set-piece coach. Bittersweet, but a lovely gesture all the same.
It was a really nice touch. Shows that football's not just about the wins and losses, but also about the people and the memories.
Exactly. Shall we pause here for a moment and then pick up the rest of Ange's insights after a quick break?
Sounds good to me. We'll be back in a jiffy, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, that was a lovely tribute to Ugo, wasn't it? Nice reminder that there's more to the game than just what happens on the pitch.
Absolutely. And speaking of what happens on the pitch, someone asked Ange about the race for those Champions League spots. I think they were trying to get a rise out of him about how tough it'll be this year.
Typical journo question, eh? Always trying to stir the pot a bit, but Ange, being Ange, he didn't bite, did he? Just said he's not focused on other teams, it's all about our own journey and all that.
Classic Ange. Head down, keep working. But he did admit that there seems to be a bit more congestion at the top this season.
Yeah, he did, and he reckons part of it might be down to the sheer number of matches teams are playing these days. Midweek games, cup ties, all that can really disrupt the flow and make it harder for everyone to find their rhythm.
Makes sense. It's a grueling schedule, that's for sure. But it sounds like Ange is confident we can handle it right.
Oh, absolutely. Remember that horse racing analogy he used? Wants us to be like a horse with blinkers on, just focused on the finish line?
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
Speaking of focus, someone asked Ange about Villa's threat from set pieces. They've been pretty dangerous from dead ball situations this season, haven't they?
They have. They've scored a fair few from set pieces, but Ange doesn't seem to believe in changing our preparation too much based on the opponent. He's all about sticking to our principles, focusing on what we do well.
That's our gaffer. Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
But he must have done some specific work on defending against Villa's set pieces, surely.
Of course, yeah. He acknowledged that we were aware of Villa's strengths and, the potential threats. And we did concede from a set piece, to be fair.
True, can't win them all, I suppose. But overall, he seemed pleased with how we dealt with their set piece threat. And even better, we scored another goal from attacking set piece ourselves.
Exactly. We're becoming a real threat from all over the pitch, which is a testament to Ange's attacking philosophy. He wants us to be dangerous from open play, set pieces the lot.
Multifaceted. I love it. So what else did our wise gaffer have to say? Anything about the upcoming match against Crystal Palace?
Well, before we get to Palace, there's one more interesting bit from Ange's presser I think is worth highlighting.
Ooh, lay it on me. What did I miss?
You know how Ange always talks about the importance of building a strong, resilient squad? Well, he had some really insightful words about the role of those.
Wait, hold on, don't tell me. Was it about the youngsters? Skip, Sar, Divine, all the academy lads coming through? Well, this is exciting.
You're spot on, as always. Yeah, he was talking about the young lads and how important they are to the future of the club.
All right, let's get into that then. Always exciting to hear about the young talent coming through. But before we dive into that, I think it's time we wrap up part 2. Give everyone a chance to digest all this tactical brilliance.
Sounds like a plan. We'll be back shortly to delve into Ange's thoughts on youth development and what it means for the future of Tottenham Hotspur. Stay tuned.
All right, so back to those youngsters then. It's great to see them getting a chance in it.
Oh, absolutely. And Ange wasn't really talking about specific players or anything like that, more about creating a culture where they feel confident enough to contribute, which I think is massive.
Yeah, that pathway from the academy to the first team is so important. We've got some proper talent coming through. Skiffy, Divine, Sar, blimey. It's exciting to think about what they could achieve.
It really is. And Ange made a really good point about how it's not just about throwing them in at the deep end and hoping for the best. It's about creating the right environment, a supportive one, where they can learn and develop their skills properly.
Spot on. It's about having that balance, the experienced lads to guide them, and then the youngsters bringing that fresh energy and fearlessness, right?
Exactly. And Ange seems to have found that sweet spot. I mean, look at Udogie stepping up against Barcelona. Skippy's been solid in midfield whenever he's been called upon. They're not just making up the numbers, they're actually making a difference out there.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see. It's not just about winning now, it's about building for the future. And Ange clearly understands that.
Oh, he's definitely got that long-term vision, that's for sure. He's not just focused on the next match. He's building something special here at Spurs.
I think you're right. It feels like something special is happening, doesn't it? And It's not just the result, it's the whole atmosphere around the club.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. There's a real sense of optimism, a belief that we're heading in the right direction. And that's down to Ange and the culture he's created in it.
Couldn't agree more. So there you have it, folks. Another fascinating deep dive into the mind of Ange Postecoglou. What a manager, eh?
The real deal, that's for sure. Top gaffer, top bloke.
And with that, I think it's time to wrap things up for this episode. Another brilliant win, another insightful press conference, and yet another reason to be excited about the future of Tottenham Hotspur.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Until next time, then.
Until next time, Sikwo YS.